Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with some more Kamihime project. Now this one is going to be practically a guide video, and I may have done this sort of thing before, but this one's going to be, I like keeping things up to date basically, and it's going to cover a lot more stuff, try to get a little bit more clarity on things, because there's a few times where I get asked how come my teams are strong. Well, part of it is due to their rarity, but another part of it is due to the setup. Because believe me, they can be stronger than they are now. I'm like nowhere near some level of players that have played this game just as long as I have. They just put more time and effort into it because, of course, I have stuff I have to do half the time, so I can't really stay on this playing as long as I would wish. But hopefully this will help you guys out too. But first and foremost is this. Do you need to have SSR characters like the one I have on screen? You don't. There's plenty of SR and even R characters that are pretty strong. But they do help, so things that can help you out when getting them, especially if you're not putting money into the game, happen to be magic jewels. And the reason why it says 17 like that is because it had some little discount pool when I first started. But magic jewels and premium tickets. Those are your biggest way of actually getting SSR if you do not add money to this game. Now, your chances are best when you have 3,000 of these, because one pool is guaranteed to be SR. I'm not sure, but the rate of SSR at that point is maybe 5% for that single pool. The others are 3%. Again, your chances aren't much better, but the fact that you're guaranteed at least one SR item is why you want to save that up. And then on top of that too, the tickets you can get from logins, you can get from events, you can get from sometimes they'll just hand them out as some little collaboration prize or something. In fact, I just got 12,000 magic jewels because of a little Facebook collaboration event or something. And honestly, I didn't really know about it. Otherwise, I would have made a video about that. But here's another thing too that also gives you a lot of magic jewels, which is definitely events and all that too. But when you do quests and storyline, they'll give you some too. Like for example, I'm going into the main quest. And I do believe this is not going to go any further. It doesn't look like they've done anything on the DMM side. So, when you reach this point on the quest, you're able to get every single magic jewel from the main and the sub-quest. So, this is the 34th chapter, honestly. And then I went into each and every sub-quest and cleared them all as well. So, you have to do as many of those as possible to get a lot of magic jewels. I can tell you right now, just from the main 34, that is a huge chunk of magic jewels. But then there's subquests that open up after most of them as well. So you can easily get a 10 draw, maybe a second one off of this. I haven't fully edited up. And it's not too hard to get these. Honestly, if you can get a team that's been limit broken a few times, you can do that. SP quests also give you these. They also give you magic jewels. Like, if events pop up, they'll sip and give you magic jewels. Accessories do not, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But these give you magic jewels, all of them. Like, even these little timed ones as well. Like, you see this time gem quest is up here. For some weird reason, the Cave of Gold ore always gave me another 50 each time it resets. So if it's intended to stay like that, there's 350 right there. Not 350, 300 right there if you actually do that every single day, because there's a 7th day where it's just open all day. And then all 4 of these are actually giving you magic jewels as well. You might have to be a little bit stronger than normal, like stronger than the storyline, in order to actually do these two. Because these enemies at that point, if you're capable of clearing the storyline, you can probably do these expert quests. But Ultimate, they actually do hit pretty hard. I'm not going to lie, they actually do hit pretty hard. They do have quite a bit of HP. But if you're able to do events, like at least expert level events, then you should be able to clear this. And that's another thing too, which is why I'm going back to the accessories. There's events where you also have these same levels as well. Beginner, Standard, Expert, and Ultimate. They are harder than the content in the game typically. At least when it comes to like Expert, Ultimate, and then even Ragnarok difficulty events. That said, here's how they'll match up. If you're able to clear Expert, you're able to do this rank 1 accessory quest. If you're able to clear Ultimate in the events, because we're about to get an Avid event pretty soon. We're due for one. But if you can clear Ultimate in that Avid event, then you can do the rank 2 accessory. If you can clear Ragnarok, rank 3. But you have to be stronger than Ragnarok level if you want to do rank 4. And as you can see, I've cleared them. I cleared these 3. I could clear this one, but it gives me a crappy, I think it's an N level ring. Because N rarity is horrible. And then R rarity is also pretty bad for rings as well. In fact, if you're going to get rings, just get the SSR ones. But they do drop other stuff as well. Because in the case of the accessories, they act as like additional equipment you can get. And some come with passive effects as well. Especially if they're above R rarity. Because R rarity rings won't have it. Anything N rarity won't have it either. But those sip and give special effects like a small defense increase or a small HP increase or small attack power increase or chance to a higher chance to put on status effects. It varies on which ones are good and which ones are bad. Because quite frankly, I can't agree with the universal opinion in some cases, but it is worth looking into which rings do which. Like, a lot of opinions says that they're, the one that reduces the rage mode gauge depletion isn't a good pull. Honestly, for some characters, they're designed around that. So, like, if you have a character like, say, like one that increases the rage drop, like, Akala, who honestly isn't that good of an SSR character, but she's still pretty decent if you use her right. But if you have a character like her where she can actually do that, and then she also does increase damage with her attack under raging mode on enemies, then that's a case where her rage gauge decrease actually could help. Like getting accessories for that. I mean, of course there's flat out better ones like the attack increase or the defense increase, but if it really comes down to it, try to put them on your better Kamihime first and then save the rage ones for somebody else. But you can grind for as much as you can on these as long as you do it 3 times a day. And that's the thing. Some stuff is limited on how often you can do it. Like, these stay open the entire day. This also stays open the entire day. These pop up periodically and they're usually only open for 30 minutes. The one right here is open the entire day as well. But, as you can see, you can only do these twice a day, even though they're open all day. And then, between these, like, you can do one rank 1, one rank 2, one rank 3, and you won't have any more runs. These share the actual limit, so you gotta be careful. But another one, which I have to go into as well, and sorry if I'm all over the place on this guy, but I'm trying to cover a lot of stuff. But another one as well. I don't know why it's labeled event quest. It really should be labeled raid. It might take a lot of load sometimes too. This game does lag at times. I don't know why it's labeled event quest. It should be called raid. You could also fight these raid bosses. They give magic jewels, but the thing that makes them different from normal fights, and we even have a raid event right now. But the thing that makes it different from normal fights is the fact that other players can jump in and help you. So if you can't clear the content, then there's a good chance that somebody else can come in and help you. That usually is the case for this one right here. As you can see, I haven't even done it because I didn't have enough confidence in my fire team. I think I do now, considering how beefed up I can get them. I just need to have a setup where I got a healer or two, because I've really beefed up my fire team since this came out. I'm pretty sure I can clear this. Even if I can get help with other players, because this is actually a pretty difficult fight, even for Ragnarok level fights. So that's a good thing about these. I think I'm not sure if it's 15 or 20, but a lot of people can jump into these raids, so you can get quite a bit of help. This I might be able to clear on my own. That's how strong my win team can get. And then eventually we'll get other ones too, because they keep releasing harder and harder content. So that's the other reason why you got to keep building up your girls. Speaking of which, if you really want to be honest, you only really have to do these for magic jewels and baby quests. The Ragnarok ones give you an item, like a special type of stone, where you can trade it for regalias, or if you even start a Ragnarok fight, you'll get a regalia guaranteed, I do believe. Those can get traded for some very, very powerful SSR weapons that can give a major boost to some of the skills for your souls, but more so a major boost to your team, depending on what they do. These are the I didn't mean to say Ragnarok, but these are the raid fights you have to do if you want to get a lot stronger. Because those weapons can give you some very, very good stuff. Quite frankly, I will eventually get them for all my teams, but the one I'm really hoping to come across is the light ones and the darkness ones once they start coming out. But you can go at these as much as you want, provided that you're not starting it. If you're starting it, you're limited to 3 times each. If somebody else has started one, you can jump in it as long as you have this BP. And also, you've noticed there's AP costs on everything, and they can get pretty high. That's the thing, you're going to be draining from your AP a lot in this game, so how do you restore those type of things? There's these in your inventory. This is also where I can show the items you can get from the Ragnarok fight too. But that's where you get these type of items. Now, these are full size elixirs. They just call them elixirs. These are energy leaves. As far as I know, the current event we have right now, which is a union raid event, they'll hand you these. So you can save them up if you want. These, you're only going to get these from magic jewels or Starcoins, which is the premium currency. And you'll have to play gachas in order to get them too, if you really want some extra ones. My suggestion to you, don't go out of your way to get these unless you absolutely need to restore them. Reason being is because of the fact that we have somewhat easy access to these and these. This is a half version of this. Now what makes it different is the fact that these can be used to revive your characters in a fight, which will also, it does a plethora of stuff. It removes all bad status effects, I've noticed, fully heals your characters, any characters that are knocked out are brought back to full health, and then even on top of that, it puts them all in a burst state. Now, if you are really trying to be cheap, you can use these back to back to unleash a full burst every single turn. And believe me, I've done that a few cases where I just didn't want to sit back and go grind through something. It's not a bad tactic, but it's not really advised. It's better to save these for revivals. Especially in the case of Ragnarok fights where you can pretty much die in a heartbeat if you do something wrong. But, and these just fully restore your BP. They don't do anything else. These restore your BP by 1. And this, take all the effects of that elixir and just throw them out the window. That full size elixir, this doesn't do all of this. This half elixir only puts half your AP back, nothing more. This puts all your AP back if you use outside of fight, and then inside of fight it does all the special effects. Now, also you can get tickets from here too, but I don't have any. Like, you can see what tickets you have. And then on top of that, here's a whole bunch of materials. You will get a lot of these, so expect this list to grow as you play. But as far as I know, and this is why I said that you don't have to really grind the lower level raids, which is the standard and expert ones. It's because of the fact that, well, you do, but I'll get to that later. But the main reason why you can still technically avoid them, is because they drop these. They also drop these. They can also drop these, and sometimes these. Main reason you'll do those raids though is because they drop these for sure. These can only be obtained by raids and also another method, which I'll get to later. These little specific claw things come from those daily quests. But as far as I know, you only really have to do the daily quests for these level items and these ones. That's because they'll sit and drop a lot of stuff. Like, everything you see on this list, like, you'll find in the daily stuff or the raids, one or the other. But the gacha, which has a lot of premium stuff, there's one specific gacha that's open to all players, which uses these, which is gems. That will drop a lot of this stuff right here. I know for a fact that gacha does not drop this. It doesn't drop this. And going further down the list, and also the raid items look separately too. Going further down the list, that gacha also does not drop these. It does not drop these, and it doesn't drop these. Now, these books are specific items right here that you get from events. And trust me, if you're trying to get your SR and your SSR characters stronger, especially SSR characters that can awaken, you're going to need these. Anything past that is stuff you grind from the storyline stages, which you can trade for stuff in the shop. I'll get to that one later as well. But the other reason why I said that you can do the lower level raids to grind for something is weapons. This is going to take a huge bulk of your power. So you're going to really need to do a lot with your weapons. Events can also hand out some SSR ones and some SR ones. I've gotten a couple of SR ones from an event. Like, I know this one is, and this is from the current event. This, I do believe, came from the, I think this came from the raid. I'm not sure if this came from the water raid or not, but I think it did. But these weapons all come with powerful effects. And some are definitely worth it more than others, but that's the thing. It's a few cases that just have some SR ones as well, but you definitely want to aim for a lot of SSR ones. Unless you already have specific setups. Now, I can tell you this right off the bat. The one hands down best effect we have right now is Assault. And a lot of weapons come with them. And this one happens to have a large version of it, which is 2 pluses. If it has 2 pluses, it's automatically 6%. If it has 1 plus, it's automatically 3%. So this one instantly gives me attack power plus 6%. But it's also based on your skill level as well. Each skill level is 0.5%. So this skill level 20, which is our current max, this gives me 10% more. So just off of this weapon alone, my fire characters, because it's only rooted towards fire, just off of this weapon alone, my fire characters get 13% more attack power. Which is typically this stat. I say typically because it's not all attacked. It's also factored in by HP. But that's like the average between your team as well. But you can more or less take most of this stat and then multiply by 1.13, and that's what this weapon alone gives. I think it's fully factored in when you look in the status menu of your characters in the edit screen, but I'm not fully sure. And then some weapons also come with a special burst effect where if your soul equips it and uses a burst, then they'll set up and give it extra effect. Assault is definitely the best one to aim for. Anything with assault in it. And typically weapons like this that have dual effects definitely will have assault. Because some weapons can have two effects as well. And this is a small attack power increase. I mean, this is a medium attack power increase, and this one has no pluses, so this is a small HP increase. So, I don't get no bonus HP off of this, but I do get 3% more attack power. So what this weapon is doing is 10% more HP, because of my skill level, 13% more attack power. This is why it's important to try and level up these weapons, not just off of this, because this level right here just increases these stats. This level is the more important one. And sometimes in the case of your effects, like depending on what you need, because you do need HP to survive, but you definitely need the attack power way more. But depending on what the weapon might have, like if it's a character that's got double plus, you could stick that right in your weapon setup in your edit section. You can stick that right there in your weapon setup, period, point blank, for that team. Keep in mind, you want to try and get one of every element, which happens to be fire, wind, thunder, darkness, light, and water. Those are the 6 elements we have right now. There's a phantom element in the game, but it's a very rare case, and there's only one thing we can get this phantom element, and it's not preferred to be used period point blank if you really want to be honest, but it still can't help. But that's the whole thing with this. Like, these weapons are very, very powerful as well. If it has 2 effects, chances are you're going to want to use it. Especially if it has assault being a higher effect. And some events hand those out as well, so that's a good thing. Now then, other stuff you might want to actually go get is these pride weapons. Personally, I'm not too keen on them, but they do help. Now, the initial thing is, and this is assuming you have it at skill level 20. I don't have any of them at skill level 20. But the initial thing for these is that they'll give you 0.5% attack power as a base for each skill level you have. But I say as a base because the lower your HP gets, the more attack power these things give to the character. So, assuming you have skill level 20, it will give you no less than 10% more attack power. But when your HP gets as low as it possibly can give you for the bonus effect, which is about 5% of your HP remaining actually, you will have 30% more attack power from the weapon alone. That's why I said it's situational. But they do give you a raw attack power increase, so it can help. It's said that they typically count as another assault weapon. But believe me when I say this, when you get raw assault, like large assault, then that's it could be better. It could be. Because you do have to get your HP rather low for these pride weapons to actually start working a little bit more. But that pretty much covers the weapons. And I'll get to the Eidolons in a second, but this is the main thing I have to show. Because this gives you a nice little bit of enhancement stuff as well. And generally geared towards your Kamihime and your weapons and your Eidolons. But these missions right here, and I'm probably going to get to the next login too while I'm recording this, which is good timing. But these missions right here, every single day you get these daily missions. These ones are always there, where you have to clear a daily quest once. That's the elemental stuff. I think the EXP ones can count too, but I would rather clear the elemental ones. And then assist in a raid battle. That's why I say you might have to do those. The other missions can range anywhere between enhancing a weapon, selling a weapon, enhancing an Adolan, selling an Adolan, break limiting a weapon, which is where you might need that gem gacha. Break limiting an Adolan, again, might need the gem gacha. Donating to a union. Those are the other ones. And then you also might have to play the gem gacha. Now, when you do all 5 of these, you also get magic jewels. This is another way to actually grind them out. And this is the only way that's infinitely supplied, aside from logins. Because logins also give you those. This is the only ones that have supplies you cannot exhaust no matter what, aside from the logins. Now, when you do enough of the daily stuff, the weekly can start clearing out. I do know for the weekly, you have to do enough daily quests. You have to do enough weapon enhancements. You have to do enough Adolan enhancements. You have to do enough raid battles, and then on top of that, the daily missions you have to clear 25 times throughout the week, which means you'll need to do 5 days worth. You do all those, you get a valuable item that's typically needed to awaken Kamihime. Typically. You can use it on other stuff, but I don't recommend it. But this is a Dragonic Eye Shard. You get 10 of these, it'll come into the form of a Dragonic Eye. You get 3 of those Dragonic Eyes, you can go awaken an SSR Kamihime, if you have one that is capable of doing so. And there's quite a few powerful ones you want to do that with. And typically, you're going to want a lot of these. Events can also hand them out too. And then sometimes some certain gachas you pay for do so as well. But anyways, going back to the inventory, because I'm going to be here a little bit longer as well. Events can give you a lot of stuff too. It's recommended to do them as much as possible. Especially consider the fact that the majority of these SSR Adolans came from events. Now, ones like this and this, I managed to pull from the gacha. And I had to pull them multiple times in order to get these. Because the thing about break limiting is the fact that you have to pull that Adolan or that weapon multiple times. And you see I got quite a few that are 4-star. I can say this without a doubt. That this is a gacha Adolan. This is a gacha Adolan. This is a gacha Adolan. So just on this first page, 3 of these 18 Adolans I've obtained from the gacha. That's how good events are for you. And I've been playing this game since it came out on Nutaku. Like, see, she's a gacha one as well. She's a gacha one as well. She's a gacha one as well. So it's her, 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 her. So, out of those, assumably 36, I've gotten 10 of these that are gacha. And they're all been obtained multiple copies. Also, that Phantom element I was talking about is her right here. She's a Willem, which comes from the Union events. The Pride weapons also come from that as well. Like, the Willems aren't exactly too good, because their main purpose is to be set as a sub Adolan. I'll get to that later. But don't try to avoid setting them as a main. I can't stress that enough. Now, in some cases, there's special events as well. She came from a special little, I think it was a Twitter event. But she actually has a seam, which is why I'm actually glad that we got like 2 of her. And you had to get her to level 40, I do believe, in order to do that, which means break limiting her. And to be quite honest, for players that just started out, she's not too bad for your Dark team. Because just at 1 star, she's got the effect of the Adolans you can get from the raids. So, that's not too bad. And a lot of these Adolans come with different effects as well. But of course, everybody's going to get thrown Diablo, so you'll have her at least. And that will be 10% attack and HP to everybody, regardless of what your setup is. She's like one of the few Adolans that's actually capable of giving everybody a boost. The only other one I do believe is this one. And she just gives a huge HP increase to everybody, but she came from an event. Now, if you really do need the HP, then by all means, pick an add-on that gives you HP and attack power, like this one. Because this is a 60% assault value, basically, because it says character attack. But it also gives me 20% more HP. But there's a reason I said character attack. Because there's two forms of attack power to get increase they do. Character and elemental. This is a case of elemental. Which means character attack acts like additional assault value. Which means I'd say that one adds like 60% more attack power to your characters. But it doesn't up their damage by 60%. That's what Huang Long gave, which is the other one I showed that gave the attack power and HP. Her, in this case, she gives darkness and fire characters this 60% elemental attack. And what that is a raw damage increase, which typically is larger than the character attack, especially at higher levels like this. So, if I'm correct, I literally have 1.6 times the damage if I'm using dark and fire characters with her as my lead. And that's just her, because you can pick a friend I don't want to increase the effect. If I pick another one that's got the same one, darkness and fire characters will have 120 elemental attack, which typically doubles it for them. More than doubles it. And there's some Adolans in the gacha, if you're lucky to pull them, that just give a flat 100 right out the gate. If you fully upgrade them, it's 120. So they're highly valued because it's all elemental attack as well. So you can get literally almost 2.5 times the power. Now, here's the thing. When you're just starting out, you're not going to have these SSR. Like, not this collection, but you might have a few of them. You don't want to use these N ones. Avoid N items as much as possible because it's very, very easy to replace those. You can easily get R and SR stuff. And then if you use the method to do re-rolling, I'll put that in I'll post the link towards re-rolling in the comments. But if you do the method of re-rolling, you should be starting off with 1, 2, maybe even 3 or more SSR stuff, so it's a better start. Me personally, I didn't do re-rolling because of the fact that I didn't know about it at the time. But see, some of these are actually pretty good. I'll admit. Some of these SR add-ons are actually pretty good. Like this one, she increases the combo rate if you set her as a main. Not necessarily a reason to use her as a main add-on, but as a sub, as you can see, when you summon them in battle, which you can do whether you set them as a main or a sub add-on. Like in her case, all your light characters get an elemental buff where they deal more light damage, and then their dark attack, their resistance to darkness is increased, which means they take less damage from darkness. Now, in the case of buffs that come in a fight, anything that says attack is an increase. And then resistance and defense is the same case. So you'll be taking less damage whether it's defense or resistance. That's an easy way to stack buffs in order to get even more power out of your characters. Because now I have to go to Kamihime to start explaining a little bit of that. As you can see, I have a massive Kamihime right here. 134. If you've seen some of the pool videos, I've gotten some surprising ones. But what makes a little bit of a difference is the fact that some are SSR, some are SR, some are R, like her. And then on that first page, you've seen characters that had like special stars on them. Those are awakened Kamihime. And I can tell you right off the bat, these two can awaken. Like these two right here can awaken. These three can awaken, and you see I max them out again. This one can awaken. And I'm not sure who else can do it too. If I have them. Yeah, I do have them. She can awaken as well. There's a few more that can awaken too, which is Titania and We'll have another one pretty soon. I think it's going to end up being Hades. I'm not sure if I remember that list correctly because we're following the DMM side. But Titania can be awakened as well. I know that for a fact, so if you happen to pull her. But see, this is where the things get a little bit different because you're trying to set up stuff by elements, and this is where one of the most complicated ways to try to set things up. It's not straightforward like weapons or Eidolons where it's like, oh hey, pick matching elements. This is where you have to really pay attention because each Kamihime does something different to the table. This is why some are clearly better than others. Like, I can honestly awaken her if I want. I got the Dragonic Eyes. I just don't want to do it just yet. But she massively boosts her own attack power. Like, she massively boosts her own attack power. If the enemy is stunned, she can do it again with a huge spike on top of that. So these two combined really spike up her damage. But what can also increase more damage too is that she can deal damage while putting a defense debuff. Now, in the case of all these buffs and debuffs, they have their own frames. So for instance, it might be classed as a self buff and then frame A. In the case of these, like this one puts on two buffs on her. One where it's a stun buff, where if it's enemies are stunned, it's a massive damage increase, and it also puts this type of buff, but a lesser version of it. So she's actually getting 2 attack buffs off of this. This will override the other attack buff from this, because they're the same frame. So you have to try and experiment with these, with like a lot of Kamihime, and see what happens. Because if I go to my edit teams, because I'm currently on the darkness one, because this is the biggest thing about this too, where you really have to pay attention. And that's why I also try to put links to like the Japanese wiki and whatnot to help you out. Now, as you can see, I have a nice little collection of teams right here. They're all SSR right here. And also, when you set up your grids too, try to keep the same element as your Kamihime. So, try to get a team full of darkness, put a whole bunch of darkness weapons on. That's where this comes in, where it really massively increases their effects. Like, you see all the stuff they get from this. But when it comes to this type of thing, this is where the frame setup actually comes in handy. Because ignoring these two, because they don't have the defense down. Like Susanoo and Nephthys don't have the defense down. Who does have the defense down is Amon, which is currently C frame. I say C frame because of the fact that that's a rare frame that usually shows up. Because single debuffs, like, it don't have to be single target, but skills that debuff one stat typically end up in either one of 3 frames. Either A frame, which is common, C frame, which is uncommon, or if it says they're stackable, it's in its own frame. This is the C frame defense down. And a very potent one too, because it's 25%. I looked up the data for that one. This one I do believe is a 20% defense down, but it hits all enemies. This one is an A frame. And a lot of the debuffs that hit all enemies tend to be A frame as well. A lot of them. Not all of them, because I'm about to get to somebody who, they don't do it, but others do. Now, she debuffs attack and defense, and also throws a plethora of other stuff. That's why she's good for starters. Like, when you're starting off, she's very good to actually go after first. But she throws an attack down and a defense down at the same time. When you're debuffing 2 stats, it's typically B frame. So that means I have A, B, and C frame. If you really want the actual totals, this is 15%. The one from Thanatos is 20%. So that's 35%. And Amon gives another 25%, which is 60%. Now, if there wasn't a cap on the total amount of defense and attack you can reduce by, that would be 60% altogether. But it's 50% for the cap. So between all the characters on this team, I reduce attack power by 15% and defense by 50%. So I'm typically doubling my damage and taking almost 1/4. I don't know the full value on 15. So that said, I'm like, no, taking almost 4/5 of the damage. That's what I meant to say. I'm taking almost 4/5 of the damage. So that said, that's why you have to experiment with the combos and whatnot, because you can really power up your teams. Because to be quite honest, if I stick the defense down from her, the defense down from her, the defense down from her, and then remember, I had a Kamihime that can also increase her attack power, and on top of that, increase it even further through stuns. She has the same abilities, only differently. Because crit rate has a chance to sip and do, I think, double damage, but I'm not sure. But she can increase her attack power, she can increase it towards stun. If I take all those defense downs, put these on her, and then use this one skill, which has a high multiplier, which is 4 to 5 times the normal damage, this alone will sip and spike it past 10 times 10. And then this will spike it even further. All that combined, while my normal characters are probably doing like regular hits of anywhere between, I'd say, 15,000 to 30,000, all that stuff combined makes this one skill hit for over 600,000. That's the power of buffs and debuffing. When you combine them correctly, you can do some very, very amazing stuff. And that's considering this team doesn't have that too much of an attack power boost with these weapons. Because I haven't leveled the attack ones up too much, but I got a lot of HP ones in these too. And it's not even a full grid of elemental stuff. If you want to see a full grid of elemental, I have that. Because at the end of the day, this is the kind of grid you want to aim for. But this one would have to be SSR. And every last one of these has either a pride or an assault increase somewhere in their weapon. But I can say right out the bat, this is a dual weapon, this one's a dual weapon, this one's a dual weapon. Every last one of these has some sort of attack power increase, either through pride or assault. That's what you're trying to aim for in the end. And also try to break limit them as much as possible so their stats get super really high. Because this is a really massive amount of attack power. You just see the attack power I'm getting just off of this section alone. But then when I set up my Adolans, because she gets elemental attack, and then all these, you just try to pick the ones with the highest attack power, but also have a nice little support effect. I'm getting a lot of attack power and HP off of those too. Adolans tend to give you more HP. So it's not a bad idea to try to aim for the ones that give you the most HP for Adolans, and weapons you aim for the most attack power. If you're trying to be a little bit more balanced, but you don't really necessarily need to go that route unless you really need the HP. Because that can probably cover your HP pretty well. A lot of these got like 900, 700 HP I can dig up. But again, this is where it comes in handy trying to figure out what each one does. The summon effect is nice for this one, if it hits the right person. Because typically, like, I have somebody on my team for my white team where she can remove status effects off of my party, the bad ones. So typically I don't want her to get hit with it. This one can randomly put this buff on her where it just prevents a bad status from happening towards her. So that's why I said she can help, but it's random. But the main reason why I have her as a lead is because I get 40% more elemental attack power, which is practically 40% more damage. And she also gives some resistance against darkness, which is what light is strong against. Light and darkness is strong against each other, and you always have the advantage. So enemies won't do increased damage to you, but you'll do increased damage to them when it's light versus darkness. Or vice versa. So I'm taking less darkness damage right off the bat off of that. And the buffs can stack on top of that too, so I can still get the 50% attack reduction, which I can do with this team. Which means I'm taking half damage just from the debuffs that can stick on the enemy, and then on top of that, this is reducing it by another 10%, I do believe. I think I'm taking like 40% damage just off of all that. But see, this is where other special effects can happen. Like, remember her? She also applies a dizziness effect on an enemy, where if it lands, then you there's a chance that their turn might just flat out be skipped. This one extends the duration of stun, and when enemies are stunned, there's a higher chance that you'll deal multiple hits on them, but there's also a lower chance they'll deal multiple hits on you. They also tend not to use a lot of special attacks or whatnot, unless there's something that literally forces it out. Like, there's certain conditions that we're starting to come across where they'll actually do it. I've seen later content where enemies stunned start healing for a crap ton of HP because that's the condition. But this character, she comes with an attack power buff. This character right here, she comes with an attack power debuff. Even more reason to help with the cap. And that's the whole thing too. It's like, if you plan out different things, you can also come up with some very busted combinations just from the Eidolons alone. Like I said, there's elemental Eidolons out there where they give you 100% elemental attack. Just out the gate for getting them. When you upgrade them even further, then it'll start increasing to 120 eventually. So, like I said, they're pretty strong. But for this team right here, and I have others I could throw in there as well. This is a very, very decent combination of attack power and defense power. Reason I say that is because this one definitely helps my attack output, and she can heal herself, which is a nice bonus. Heal and buff herself. But she increases the attack power of all my team for a few turns. Can lower the defense power of enemies. You already know about her. But I tend to put her extra skill as something that usually helps me out further. Like this one I put ability damage just for farming purposes, so that my other characters can sip and do more damage with their abilities, because I got a few of them that hit an entire team. But I typically tend to put a healing ability on here that also increases combo rate. You can set whatever extra ability you want as long as you've unlocked them. And that's the whole thing about these souls right here. When you get more souls, you get more opportunities. So try to get as many souls as you can. I am one short to having all of them in the game. But, this one's a little bit more defensive, as is clearly said right here, because you can see what type they are. But she's got a chance to apply dizziness, which helps avoid getting hit by some stuff on turns at times. She can lower their attack power and lower their mode gauge decrease. What that means is if they're enraging, it helps speed up draining that gauge, because it just flat out takes a chunk out of it. Best used at the start of raging, because the more raging they have, the more it tends to drain. But she also can remove one charge off of an enemy. What that means is that every time the enemy attacks, they get a charge. And this is for every enemy in the game. When all those charges are full, and it varies by enemy, it typically can go anywhere between, I think, 1 to 5 charges, depending on how things go. But when an enemy gets fully charged, then they tend to bring out a special attack where it can do any number of stuff that can just make your day worse. Sometimes it's a lot of damage, sometimes it's a move that'll hit your whole team, sometimes it's status effects, sometimes they'll heal themselves, and any kind of combination of them as well. This removes that by 1 outright. So between her and the soul I got, because she's got a debuff on her, where she'll permanently increase the charge gauge by 1 as long as you can keep that debuff up. So that means an enemy that takes 3 turns to charge up their special attack now needs 4. And then she can remove a turn off of that as well. But this is one that's a mix They call her offense, but she's got a little bit of helpful stuff as well. I say she's a mix because of this simple fact that she can apply blindness to enemies and hit them all at once too. Blindness gives them a chance of just not dealing any damage at all when they attack you. Only for single target stuff. Well, multiple doesn't do that, I don't think. It might. I'm not fully sure if multiple will do it. I know in the case of where it's an attack that hits everybody at once, it will win regardless of blindness. I know that for a fact. But if it's something that will randomly hit 2 people, it might miss. I'm not fully sure. But that's what blindness does. It adds a chance of attacks just not landing on you. She increases her own dark resistance, which is defensive, and her own white attack power, elemental white attack, and that's offensive. Now what this does is deal damage to an enemy and lower the resistance to light. Now, that counts as a defense debuff, and it does stack with the other ones. So between her, and a few of the others that's been shown, I can hit the defense cap as well. Just with this move, as long as it sticks. Because this is 30%. But also, if it's a dark enemy, they get a lot more damage, and that's a nice little bonus. That's why I said she's a mix. It says offense, but it's really a mix. And then this one. Hands down one of the best characters in the game, by the way. Excuse me. Now, this is the power of awakened characters. Because when you awaken them, first and foremost, you have to get them to the highest level they can possibly get. And since we can only awaken SSR characters right now, because eventually there'll be awakenings for SR characters, I've heard. But I don't know if they implemented that on the DMM side. But in our version on Nutaku, we can only awaken SSR characters. You have to get them to level 80. Then you apply the 3 Dragonic Eyes in order to awaken them. They'll get reset back to level 1. But it changes their burst attack. It changes their appearance. Gives you more scenes where you can get more magic jewels, because you can do that as well. And then on top of that, it allows you to level them up again. As you level them up, the first time their abilities get stronger, they get even more powerful as you do it the second time. Like this right here, originally just healed everybody and removed 1 affliction. Now that I've awakened her and leveled her up again, it heals everybody, even for more just off of this. It's an increased amount of healing. Applies regeneration for further healing, and then removes 2 afflictions. That alone says the power of awakening is pretty strong. This one, it originally just did damage and then removed 1 effect off of the enemy, one good effect off of them. Awakening just shortened a turn. I kind of wish it removed 2 effects instead of just shortening a turn, but hey, we can't all get what we want. Now this, and this is a C-frame attack down as well. This is another reason why I like her. Lowers all enemies' attack power, but also the awakening effect after it's leveled up again. It now grants a recovery boost on all my team. So meaning if I use this ability and get that recovery boost, this skill heals even more for both its forms of healing. That's why you awaken characters. They can get some stupidly powerful stuff. And typically when you set up your teams, you want to try and aim for 1 element on this group. The sub-slots don't matter unless you're going through content where you might lose somebody. So if you're strong enough to handle the content without having a sub-character come in, then put in these slots characters you want to just build up so they can get the experience points. But you typically want to have 1 of each element. Like I show my light, I show my darkness. I have 1 for fire. And I was leveling those 2. I have 1 for thunder. I have 1 for wind, and they're pretty strong too. I don't even have my awakened one in there. This is more offense. Because my awakened character is just flat out defense. I have 1 for water as well. That's the end game result you basically want. And also, when we start getting more of them in the game too, you want to try and get dual weapons as much as possible. Some of the dual weapons evolve into tri-weapons later down the line, but I'll cover that when it happens. But typically when you actually look at the screen too, you can see their stats. Like, see, it says my average power is 44, but none of them actually reach that in attack power. It's because it's factoring in, when you get the average, it factors in this, even from your sub slots as well. But it takes the HP of the character, adds it on top of the attack power. It adds all that together for all the characters in your team, including the sub slots, and then it divides it by 7. That's how you get this right here. And generally, you'll want about, I'd say, 30,000 to reliably clear most of the content in the game. But if you're at where I'm at right now, where it's like 44,000, and you got some decent skill effects from your grid as well, you could probably clear everything in the game. This light team alone should be able to handle pretty much whatever's thrown at them for the most part. That's the main thing about upgrading the stuff. Now, another thing, and this is important for the Union event as well. Union, this is where you also donate to your Union as well if you're trying to complete that quest. Union, you can talk to other people. I've got a decent Union myself, which still has some slots left, but I can't add people because they have to not be in a Union for this Union event. But anyways, Unions can give you a lot of decent stuff, especially burst time, because there's certain times of the day, depending on whatever Union has it set for, where your burst gauges are instantly filled. But this only applies to raids. It doesn't apply to advent events. So any raid, whether it's an event raid, like the Union raid, or just some normal typical ones, you'll instantly be able to full burst right out the gate. As long as you're within this time frame doing those. It's very good for just nuking event boss after event boss after event boss if it's a raid event. But you can chat with others, you can see whatever special instances happen, like if somebody joined, if somebody left, if the Guardian got changed, which is this current Guardian. And the Guardians give you extra attack power as well. Not much, but it helps. Like, she's giving 5%, I do believe. And I can actually change the Guardians. I'm the Union leader. But yeah, she gives 5%. And we can level her up by feeding her different sorts of weapons and stuff. But, that's the whole thing. Guardians can give you a little bit more output, too. And she's good for this one. We're going up against a win enemy for the Union event. Now, here's a big bulk of how you get a lot of good characters. These gachas. Now, there's specific characters that's exclusive to this gacha. If you don't get them, good luck. And a really powerful one is, like, remember the one I showed that was Awakened that can heal a lot? Her name is Soul. Yeah, don't confuse that with the other one. She spelled S-O-L, and the characters that you said is your lead slot is S-O-U-L. But they have, here's the thing. They have another version of her in this gacha, which is also pretty strong. But that counts as a limited character, so once this gacha is gone, you ain't going to be able to get her unless they bring it back again. They have brought this gacha back. But there's some specifically added towards new characters. If you see my pool video, I've done that. Some added towards elements. Like, I mentioned one at 100% Idolins is a very good chance to get her through this. Well, it's not a very good chance, but it's a higher chance. And rematch rivalry, because this event's happened before, and we're going through it again. There you go for her. And then, this is the ones that you're probably going to go through a lot, regardless of what player you are. The Magic Jewel one and the Gem Gacha. Again, Magic Jewel is saving for 3,000. The Gem one. Now, this goes back to a lot of different stuff. That's where you can get a lot of materials in order to upgrade your weapons, because anything that's R rarity or higher has a set chance to increase the skill level of a weapon. As long as you have another weapon that's R or higher. You can get R level weapons from here. You can get SR level 1s too, but they're enhancement materials, so they don't count. Enhancement materials is a straight EXP boost. But you can get R weapons from this gacha. So you're going to spend a lot of time here as a free player. You're going to spend a lot of time here as a paying player too. Especially if you have a nice little supply of gems like I've got, because a lot of stuff in this game takes gems, including accessories when you try to upgrade them. Try to upgrade accessories, takes gems. Try to break limit a Kamihime weapon or a Dolan, takes gems. Try to upgrade an accessory, takes gems. It's like, gems are used everywhere. You're going to rack up a lot of them too, because events can handle like crazy. But, this gacha, it has R weapons in there. And I'll get to more on that one later. But the R weapons are mainly, you mainly get them to up your skill levels of your other stuff too. The higher the skill level, the more of these you'll need. Anywhere up to 40 of them. But since you can only stick 20 at a time, you'll have to put R weapons into each other and up their skill levels in order to increase the effect of how much they'll add to the chance meter for your other stuff. But you get stuff to upgrade your weapons, you can get stuff to upgrade your Kamihime here. So, and then experience-wise, I've done ones as well. That's why the gem gacha is very good to go after. And then, big thing that they have in this, which I'll show. Some R weapons have Kamihime. So, regardless of whether you're a free player or a paying player, you should get additional Kamihime. Regardless. Storyline also handles some SR ones. A few of them are good. But, that's the whole thing. Gem gacha definitely has a lot of R Kamihime. And some of them are very good. I'll even go back and show one of them. One of them you definitely should aim for. Actually, maybe two of them. I just gotta find where they're at, because I probably leveled them up a little bit higher. And you do typically want to level everybody up. I at least got all my R girls up to at least level 25, so they got their second skill. Because R characters only get 2 skills, everybody else gets 3. Souls can get up to 4, thanks to the EX ability thing. But, yeah, they're probably higher. Interestingly enough, too, she's the only Kamihime right here. You can get her from the Gem Gacha, but she's the only Kamihime right here that actually comes with an ability that, increases drop rate. As far as I know. She's the only Kamihime. There's 3 souls that do it, but, they're better at their job. She's a good one to aim for as well. This one's special. Because this is a very powerful defense buff on par with the highest healing soul. Because there's a soul in that you can get who heals for a lot of HP, can revive other characters, which is the only one that can do so. But it's an EX ability, so you can set it to others. But there's a soul that also heals and revives characters. She also gives the same level of defense buff as this one, Kamihime. But she's one of the few Kamihime in the game that's got a stackable attack down. Now, granted, each stack is only going to last for 3 minutes. But if you're quick enough, she can get 9 stacks, which is 5% per stack. She can almost hit the attack down the cap on her own. That's why I said she's special. If you pull her for your win team, you shouldn't have too much trouble with attack power as long as you can keep throwing that on the enemies every 3 turns. The longer the fight, the better for her stacks, but you try to end a fight as quickly as possible. And then you get her out the gate. You get this one out the gate. This is one of the ones that's storyline based, and you get her immediately. She's actually pretty good for starting out, but later on she gets outquest easily by other characters that you may or may not get your hands on. But you will have her on your team for quite a while, regardless of what you try to do. Unless you manage to pull one of the other water healers. which is actually a stronger version of herself, ironically, which is an SSR version of herself. You can pull her as well. But I got a water healer right here to outclass her. That's why I said that. Another storyline character you'll get is her. But I have her SSR version right here, which is just outclassing her by a long shot. Another storyline character you get is her, and they're both pretty good. This one more so because she comes with some very, very good stuff. Which is not bad for a free character. Like, she got this ability where for one turn she just won't take damage. Period. Very good for when an enemy's about to nuke you. But this, she can buff her own attack and defense really high. It's B frame. Because some self buffs can actually get overridden. I forgot to mention that. But she does a B frame attack and defense down on an enemy as well. I didn't mean to go to gotcha. But yeah, that's why she's worth it. The other one I tried to show, she can nullify one status effect put on the entire party. That's also pretty good. And also increase her own burst gauge periodically. But yeah, I didn't mean to go there. Now, one more thing, because this is long past that point. Every time when the day resets, typically for me it's 3 in the morning. And I live on East Coast, so it's 12 for those that live on the West Coast of the USA. But these logins can give you a lot of decent stuff, as you can see. You'll get gems, but they're easier to rack up just through the gem quest. Believe me, if you play the gem quest a lot, you'll get a lot of gems. But events are starting to hand out a crap ton of them now. You can get energy seeds from this. Sometimes when you do a raid event, you'll see energy seeds and half elixirs drop as well. Like when you, even a normal raid. Like, you could get these from a plethora of ways. You really shouldn't have to buy more of them. But you can get these, which is half elixirs and energy seeds. You see, they give you magic jewels. This is why I said this is one of the few times the supply does never exhaust. However, it's only on the 4th, the 8th, and the 11th days. Because this resets after you hit the 12th day, because that's a premium ticket right there at the end. But just for logging in, you get those. Sometimes they have special campaigns like this, too. And you see all the magic jewels are just thrown at you. Sometimes it's a lot, too. Like, this is 1,200. This is actually one of the lower values. Logging in is very important. And then harem scenes, too, can also give you magic jewels. But there's a catch. If it's for a Kamihime, if it's a harem scene for a Kamihime, then the first scene will not give you magic jewels. It'll just unlock another ability for them. And in the case of our characters, you're not getting magic jewels. But the SR and the SSR characters will give you magic jewels for the second scene they get. The introductory scene, though, will give you magic jewels, regardless of the Kamihime. So if you really want to be honest, our Kamihime give you 50. And every other Kamihime gives you 100. If you get them powered up enough. Which typically takes just the first break for our characters, but the third break for the others. And then on top of that too, Storyline also gives you harem scenes for free. But that's if you're playing the Nitaku.net version. If you're playing .com, you're not getting those. Well, you might get them just to sip and show the first part, but you won't get the uncensored part. Anyways, when you start doing a lot of missions, even some stuff from events, you'll start getting a lot of stuff in your inbox too. No expiration, self-explanatory. Will expire, you want to try and get those out of there. And then see, I've gotten her from an event. I don't need her anymore. She's already max. I max broke her. I don't need any more of her. So what can you do with extra copies? Hold on to them. Eventually, later down the line, you'll actually be able to trade these in for special items. And then, in some cases like the Pride weapons, they can get some special effects too later down the line when we get access to that type of stuff, where you might actually want to use it. I've got 2 of the light pride weapon because of that crap. But as you can see, Union event, 10,000 gems. And that's just one of the gem increases that I got from it. But as you can see, there's a lot of stuff you get from that as well. And then also when you do certain things, the messages pop up as well. Like, they always tell you when your Furry Doughy Gacha pops up. If you unlock the Harem episode, they'll say it too, but you see the big flashing heart right there. And then, because it's a new day, things have changed. Yesterday was the day for the light stuff. And I'm actually going to be farming for this one as well. Now it's time for the darkness stuff. You can tell by the item they gave you right here. Before I had to enhance a weapon and sell a weapon. Now it's enhance an Adoan and sell an Adoan. Before I had to play the gym gacha at least 3 times. Now I got to donate to the Union once. That's what I'm saying. These things change. And then some events as well. The Union events won't do it, but it seems like the other 2 will. They'll have special missions as well. Do those missions if you can. Those are some very powerful stuff to give you. Some of them give you Dragonic Eye Shards. But speaking of those Dragonic Eye Shards, because this is the last thing we want to show. Also, if you get more friends, you got more shots at starting off with an Adoan that you can summon into battle. That's the only real benefit of having friends. Otherwise, you could just pick them and still get the additional effect. But I'd still try to make a lot of friends anyways. My friend list is full, so please don't ask me. I'll put it in another video at a later date if my friend list is not full. But right now it's full and everybody's still staying pretty active, so I'm not getting rid of anybody. I don't have room. Anyways, this is a place to buy Starcoins. If you really want to get some, you can still hit that plus to do it. I'll just show this real quick for the paying players. Now, they tried to be really funny with how the Starcoins are set up. As you can see, 3,000 Starcoins, flat value, not bad. Flat value, not bad. You see you get magic jewels with these. This is where it gets a little bit funny. These aren't normal values they have right here. But you see you get 700 magic jewels just for getting this one. You'll still be like 200 short, which may end up making you add a little bit more to try and balance that out. Because recently I did SSR guaranteed pulls, which took 5,000 normally. If I did this 5,000 thing twice, I would only get 500 magic jewels. I had to do this to get to 700 and then try to add a little bit extra on top of that. It's their little way of trying to get you some money. The only one that's not an odd number is this, because there are single pools that are considered half price pools, but they're really less than half. Because to get a single pool with Starcoins, you need 300. The reduced discount ones are always 120. So when you add Starcoins, watch what you're doing. And there's first time offers too that will give you a lot of them as well. You might want to do it because they'll give you way more magic jewels on the first time offers. You can also exchange those coins and magic jewels for this type of stuff. You won't really need these. Don't exchange for these anymore. I did older videos where it might have been worth it to try and get these, the elixirs. Don't do it anymore. You can get half elixirs and stuff so easily now. The only reason you might need this full size elixir is just to revive yourself, and quite frankly, you're just better off doing. If you really got to go out of your way to sit and use a star coin for this, you're better off just going for the gachas that hand you those, because there's a lot of them. The SSR guaranteed ones tend to do that. I just got 20 of these and 20 of these just from doing those 2 gachas. If you're going to spend star coins on anything other than gacha, it's going to be the expansions. I just expanded my weapon and Adoan inventory by quite a bit. I think I got 30 more slots on this and 70 on the weapons. You can also do that for accessories. I haven't had to do it that much yet because I haven't grinded accessories that much. But magic jewels can do the same thing. If you're a free player, this is your only means of increasing these slots, so keep that in mind. And then you can exchange accessories that you grind out too. Like if you use them in enhancements or just flat out sell them, you get points, and then you can trade them for the SSR rings. Keyword rings, and they're only rings. Just save up for these ones and save yourself the trouble. These have the better stats, even though they're the weakest stats in any accessory. It's just the SSR ones that are better than rings. And then you get two skill effects off of this. You get one if it's an SR. And I don't know if they refilled stock. But either way, you don't want to just go willy-nilly on all this stuff anyways, because you're going to end up having to, you're going to have to grind out a lot. Believe me. I'm 1 point short away from being able to exchange for an SR, but I just don't care. And it's been sitting like that for months. That's how long ago I've grinded accessories. I just did not care too much. I'll get to them eventually. Especially considering the fact that the ones you want to grind is rank 4, and those can be difficult. The only rank 4s I can reliably clear is with my white team or with my win team. That's it. The other ones might die and I have to use an elixir, and I don't want to go through that. That's because the boss of those areas can nuke you pretty freaking hard if you do things wrong. And in some cases, outright kill a person. So you want to be careful. But anyways, your Dragonic Eyes and your Dragonic Eye Shards. I will say this right off the bat. Unless you are really, really overloaded on Dragonic Eyes, as in like a huge surplus, like 20 or something like that, don't worry about anything on this page past this point and any of these other pages. Do not worry about them. The only thing you should really truly worry on this page, if you really want to try to be prudent and get the best out of your Dragonic Eyes, is this, where you trade the shards into a full eye. You can do it once per day. But if you are going to go out your way to get something, these are the two things that actually try and go for then. Because what these do is allow an SSR item, regardless of what the heck it is, to get fully broken. This is one for weapons, this is one for Eidolons. This is your only way to simply max out those stars without getting additional copies. But you need 20 Dragonic Eyes. You can imagine how much you sip and get them out. And how do you get Dragonic Eyes without getting shards? You have to pull a Kamihime weapon that is SSR rarity that you already have. Good luck. Now, remember the regalias I mentioned? Those Ragnarok raids. They'll drop regalias if you start them. They'll give you can trade shards for regalias. That's what these little things are. These are regalias. When you get enough of them, hey look, there's some stupidly strong weapons. This one's for the Soul Arthur, but as you can see, the wind attack for your characters massively spikes. You can spike their wind character attack for it. No. It's an elemental attack increase. So far, these are the only weapons I know of that give you elemental attack and not raw attack. And then it also increases, like, her Absolute Monarchy ability. It reduces the cooldown for that. It gives a nice little increase. Then there's an axe for her as well. Avalon's Guidance attack power increase. So I think it jumps from 20% to 30%. And then this one's a max HP increase, a very large one too, mind you. More than the normal stuff. But this one is an attack power increase. Now, the thing is, I do believe you have to have this on the soul that it matches in order to get these skills. I think. I know for a second skill you definitely have to. But this, I think you have to have it on Arthur in order to actually get that HP increase. The same thing goes for all the other stuff. Like these guns is for, I think, Artanian. And they're only for legendary souls too. Do not even think about getting these for the standard or the elite souls. Now, storyline materials, and this is another reason why you don't need to get full size elixirs. You can grind these out in order to actually get more and more half elixirs and energy seeds. But by the time you've racked up that much stuff, you might have actually used quite a bit. You're better off hitting the gacha to get these. Heck, I'm not even trading for this because I don't even really care. But then you can get some SR Dolans as well. A select few might be helpful. Like if you really need the defense increase, maybe her. Maybe. You can see how unsure I am about that because defense increase isn't really needed unless it's from an SSR one. You can get SR weapons from here as well. This one gives you an assault. So if you really don't want to go out your way to get the raid grinds because it's still random drops regardless of what you try to do. This is another one, but you still got to deal with random drops anyways. But the raid ones do have better stats, I do believe. Like, see, this one's only like 13,000 if you fully break it, which is like a level 85. I've got SR that actually have 500 more attack power and then still have more HP, so that's the whole thing with that. It's another option, but it's not the best one. You're better off just grinding the raids for those. Because they'll give you assaults and defenders if you need them. But see, there's more Adolans as you go further in the storyline. I was actually grinding out one of these. Like, at first I was actually grinding out one of these. Like, that was an attack. I eventually got rid of it because I got a better one. But, the one thing you might actually need from the storyline is this Adolan right here. Because if you cannot hit the defense cap of 50%, she'll more than likely help you with that. Because if you unlocked Artanian and Gawain, then just get her, and you can hit the defense cap regardless of the team. Regardless of the team. Because all you need to do is put either Artanian in the fight, and then put all you need to do is put Artanian in the fight and then use Gawain's EX skill, or vice versa. And if you have Kamihime that can sip and do debuffs as well, then you might be able to substitute a few things. So, yeah, that's the whole reason why you might need her, because she'll also increase the defense as well. But you don't want to be reliant on it too, because it takes a long time for some of the effects to actually come back into play. Like, she can help you with it, but only if you're like in a fight for a while. And then these little stones you trade for Regalia, you can get up to 20 until it refreshes, so you won't get the full 30. You can also turn those and the lower level raid items to the higher ones, but just play the gacha for these. Like, the gym gacha gives you a lot of this stuff too. You shouldn't even need to trade for them bone things. What you might need to trade for is to turn these lower items into these ones. But you can only do one per day. I just do it as needed. Because the elemental dungeons will sip and cover all that as well. But me personally, I found it very difficult to get these ones at times. But now that they get the ultimate level stuff, I haven't had too much trouble finding them. What I have had trouble finding is occasionally these. Because they'll tend to give me these instead. And these tend to be hard to find too, but you can gacha for these actually. So. But the gacha is limited on how many times you can pull that gem gacha. I do believe you can hit the multi-draw 100 times. I see multi because it's not always 10 depending on your inventory. So make sure your inventory allows for 10 draws all the time or you're getting cut short. The single draw you can hit 100 times. So if you are doing it correctly, you will end up spending 101,000 gems every single day. If you happen to grind out enough in order to keep that going. But if you're trying to exhaust your entire supply and you're doing it correctly, you've spent 101,000 gems. So you got to keep that in mind. Actually, no, it's 110,000. I'm adding that up wrong. Because it's 1,000 gems for a 10 draw. And 100 gems for a single. But just for kicks too, you also get a free draw too, so you really get an extra draw on top of that. But just for kicks too. And then here's a big thing about the gacha. This is the door you'll most likely see. You won't know if it's an R item or an N item. I got an N item. But that's the thing, it's like that door shows when you don't get anything that's SR or above. You get a gold door, something's SR, which is going to end up being enhancement material. I don't know if I'll get one. Yeah, I did get one. This is enhancement material if it's the gem gacha. But those enhancement materials give you a lot of experience points, so you might actually want to see those. And then I got some R stuff as well, which is good because I did want this type of pull. I got a high level enhancement material. This gives you typically 500 experience points unless the type of weapon matches it. Like, it's a sword, I do believe. I can click on it and find out, actually. Okay, it's a glaive. If I feed this to a glaive, that's 50% more experience, which means it goes from 500 to 750 just off of this one copy. So putting 20 of these means I can get 15,000 experience points. And for some weird reason, you throw these at white characters too, because you can throw them on your Kamihime to boost their levels as well, but only do that if your weapons don't need any more experience points. But you throw these at white characters, they also get the boost because for some reason they go by element, not type. And hey, look, I pulled a half elixir. But this is also another thing you want to go for. I think this actually gives you a Kamihime. I think this one gives you a Kamihime. I'm not sure. But as you can see, our weapons that come with a skill can get fed to increase the skill level of other weapons. But this is the very, very last thing I want to show. The enhancement page, it can be kind of confusing at first, but you set everything the way you want because there's a multitude of settings you can pick. Just pick which one works for you. You can go in and start enhancing stuff. Like, I'm trying to find something that I haven't really put a level into. I think it's a dark weapon. Yeah, see, I haven't put anything into this one. As you can see, there's a multitude of stuff you can do. Experience boost, you can set up the skill level. Now, regardless of what you throw at it, it's going to increase its experience. That's a given. So, let me do this real quick. Whoops, I don't want that yet. I want to tap these real quick because I got a touchscreen laptop. That really helps with this. But that's of your own volition. Now, see, all those enhancement materials gave me a lot of experience points. I could throw it at this. Boom, level 50. From 1 to 50, right there. It can't go no higher until I break limited, meaning getting another copy or getting one of those specific things I showed for the Draconic Eyes. So, yeah. Once you get a break limit, it'll add a star, it'll increase its maximum level. It doesn't increase the maximum skill level yet. Again, I'm not trying to spoil that. It will happen later, but I'm not trying to spoil that. Now, have you noticed that this didn't go up? That's because it didn't have a chance to. This is where these R weapons come in. Depending on what weapon you're trying to enhance and how high its skill level is, you'll get a chance to increase its skill level. This is 50% just with the one R weapon. And I'm not going to try and do it off of that. Because what you want to try and do is aim for 100%. Or as close as possible to it. Now see, now it's guaranteed to go up. This is now skill level 2. So instead of 0.5%, it now gives a 1% increase to attack power. Just off of that alone. But because of the large value, it's also another 6%. Excuse me, I've been talking too long. This video had to be long anyways. But as you can see, now I've got a stronger skill level. You'll do that again and again and again and again until eventually it ends up like this. Level 125, I've fully broken it, and the skills are fully maxed out at 20. I can't push this any further except for one thing. Notice the plus value? Excuse me. The plus value, that's the last important thing I really have to point out. Sometimes you'll pull something that has a plus on it. It can be any rarity as well. Except for SSR, they never seem to come with it. But if something comes with a plus value on it, it doesn't matter what number it is. When you use an enhancement, and it trades its plus value to another item of its that it can enhance. So in the case of weapons, you can feed them the Kamihime with plus value as well. But it's better to keep them on your weapons anyway, so everybody gets the effect. Each plus value is 1 HP and 3 attack power added to the weapon. So this is 18 more HP right here. And then off the top of my head, I think it's 54 attack power. So you can see it racks up. It goes up to plus 99. And keep in mind, you can equip 10 of these weapons and 6 of these Idoans. So you're getting nearly 1,600 more HP if you have all plus 99s on your grid. And that's just from the weapons and the Idoans, because the Kamihime can also go up to plus 99. So if you effectively get plus 99 on your entire team, all the weapons you're using, all the Idoans you're using, that is 1,700 more HP just about. It'll be like 17 or less than that. But multiply that by 3 for the attack power. That's a huge jump. So you might want to pull the gacha for that one too, because they occasionally come out to gym gacha, but it's not that often. You tend to get them more from the paid gacha. Those plus values tend to get more from the paid gacha. You can also get them from events too. The raid event where it's a special raid gacha, you can get them from in there too. But yes, that's what you get from that one. Now, break limiting. In the case of weapons and Idoans, I said that was straightforward. Just get another copy of it, you'll be able to push it further. Different case in the form of Kamihime, because this is where the items come in. And you're going to need a lot of these items. You'll be grinding like crazy. Oh good, I can up her. Depending on the rarity, you might need better stuff. Like you see, I need a lot of these, and quite frankly, I can't get this or this from the gacha. I had to grind those out. I had to literally grind those out. The rest I can pull from the gacha, just go all day, every day in that one. She's now got 2 stars. As you can see, her max level's increased. For Kamihime, it's always an increase of 10 levels. For weapons and Idoans, it depends on the rarity. But here's the typical caps for everything that really matters, because I don't think you're going to keep our weapons. Unless you're like a really starting off player, and quite frankly, you don't need to break limit those anyway at that point. Just worry about getting SR and SSR. But here's the typical caps for everything. SSR Kamihime cap at level 80, once you finally get all these stars. SR is level 70, R is level 50. For weapons, it's 125, which is insane. And again, more on that later, because they're going to change that. But for weapons, it's 125 for SSR. For SR, it's 85. And in the case of Idoans, it is 100 for SSR, and I do believe 90 for SR. But I wouldn't worry about SR Idoans unless you're using Vine, which I've shown from the exchange. And even then, you're going to get rid of her eventually. Because eventually there will be an event where you can get a Idoan that actually lowers defense. But as you can see, you're going to need a lot of these items. And see, here's where the books come in. Because notice how my SR is ready for 4th break. I need these silver books in order to push them further. For the SR. For the SSR, it's not the silver books, but it's the harder to get gold books. And I say harder to get because unless they're like getting handed out through an event list where it's like, oh hey, grind enough times, you'll get them. The advent events actually have an exchange where you have to do it after grinding enough of the items that drop. You exchange them for whatever you want. Those are harder to get than the silver books, naturally. But in the case of Awakening, this is where things change. I think she's on page 4. Yeah. In the case of Awakenings, this is where things change. Oh look, it's an SSR that needs a silver book. Yeah, that's a thing. Quite frankly, if I slip and walk out on a gacha and get another one of these, and then get enough of these, I can still push her further. But that's the whole thing. And it's more expensive in order to upgrade the Awakened Kamihime too. I have to warn you right here and now. You see how many gems I got? I'll lose somewhere around 1/3 of that just for her to go from 3 to 4 stars. And that's not including the other. That's not including the other 7 breaks. Keyword 7. Because I gotta step and get her to level 80 the first time in order to get to Awakened state. That's not including the value for the other 7. It can get expensive. You have to practically grind out 160 levels for them, but it's worth it. Because when you do finally get them up there, they get some very powerful stuff. I have 3 of them that's at level 80 Awakened. You don't know how long that took. But it was more than worth it, especially in her case too, because while not as good as this one, she's got an ability where she'll just flat out draw all attacks to herself. All single target attacks and multi-target. If it's area of effect where it just hits everybody, then it just won't draw attacks to her. But stuff where it can randomly target one person, it will instead target her. And she won't take damage from it. And I do believe it's for up to 2 or 3 turns. Or until she gets hit by 3 separate sources, so whatever happens first. But as you can see, it took a lot to sip and amass this type of stuff. When you play the game long enough, you'll start racking up a lot of these things, but you still gotta enhance them. Believe me, I am far from powered up. Because I even flat out told you, you can plus 99 this stuff on top of max skill level. So if you truly, truly, truly want to have top power on everything, you have to get 3 SSR accessories. And you have to max level them too, because that will also increase their effects. But you have to get 3 SSR accessories per Kamihime. You have to get skill level 20 on everything on your grid, all SSR, all level 125, or the highest level you can ever get it to, period, point blank. You have to get them all to plus 99. You have to do the same for Adolins as well. You have to plus 99 in your Kamihime, max break them, awaken them, all that. If you truly want to be at the top height of your power, you have to go through all of that. That's why this game has so many options to strengthen yourself. Because you won't need it, but you can do it. And then I've got stuff I haven't even started working on either. But believe me when I say this. Like, see, I can awaken them. I'm trying to awaken her, but I gotta level her to level 80. These 2 are already set for it. Because if I really wanted to, I have enough Draconic Eyes to just hit that awaken button and just boom. But you have to really massively, massively upgrade your characters. And a bulk of the power does come from the weapons and the accessories. Because of the simple fact that the accessories also give you stats too. And that's the major thing about this one. I do have some SSR stuff. And as you can see, some of them actually got some decent effects too. Like this one, it depends on the character, but ability damage might actually help you. I actually would love ability damage for Susanoo O because she's got the strong nuke. And for this one, it's kind of because there's not too many mode gauge droppers in the light. I did stick this on Raphael, I do believe. But as you can see, it's additional stats, additional effects. In defense on this one. Sometimes if it looks like if it's ability damage, it might be attack power. I think this one is, nah. Some that increases burst damage. That's not as good as you think. I think that's the one skill that everybody agrees is crap. Defense is highly valued, so is HP. I do believe that much. So I'm trying to find one for attack, but I can't find it. Yeah, here we go. See? Attack power increase. When you max the level of these, it increases the effects of this. Typically on the SSR, I don't know what it is for these other ones, but typically on these, it ups it from like maybe 2% to 3%, stuff like that. Mode gauge is 3%, I do believe. And up to 4 maybe? I'm not fully sure. Don't keep my word on it. Oh, and some of them even increase drop rate. That's not bad too. But that's the thing. You can equip these, you can sell these, you can enhance them. Each character can typically equip 3 until later on in the game where they finally started accessing the other 2 slots. But that's the other way to actually increase your characters. And these don't have plus values, so don't even think about it. That's the one thing you cannot get plus value on. That might change later down the line, I don't know. But yeah, that pretty much covers this entire video. Believe me when I say this, this was a long one. A long one to try and cover as much stuff as possible. This should stay entirely up to date. Entirely. There's going to be more content later where I'll just make another video for it. But this stuff that I just mentioned to you will not change. Period. So I shouldn't have to remake this guide anymore. This has been a very, very, very long video. My voice is getting kind of dry just from talking. I even coughed a few times, you can tell. If you really need to go over anything, there's various points of the video. I'm honestly a little bit too lazy to look for the time, so unfortunately you're just going to have to go through it yourself. Thank you if you definitely stayed around to actually watch all of this, because this is a long video. It's like movie length. But anyways, that's all I got for this, guys. Expect more guides on this soon. Definitely expect more gameplay. And I will see you again some other time. But for now, take care.